The biggest thing that happened yesterday was not Donald Trump related. I will explain. We have Chad Prather on here to make us laugh. We have my buddy Darryl Cooper on tonight to make us think. All that and so much more coming up tonight on I'm Right. All right, let's talk about something bad and something good. All right, so let's lead with the bad because we got to have a chat. You don't worship the government, and I'm glad you don't. That's a good thing. You don't ever want to worship the government. Never worship the state. You don't eat, sleep, and breathe it. Even though you're a political person, I know that because you're watching me here on I'm Right. You don't eat, sleep, and breathe it. You have a life, job, probably family, whatever you hobbies. You have a life. So I don't want you to eat, sleep, and breathe it. I don't want you to worship. But we do have to acknowledge the communist. He does. His goal is to tear everything down. He eats it, he sleeps it, he breathes it, he lives and dies for it. And because he has been more committed than we have been, because he worships it and we don't, he's been more committed, he's better at it than we are. For now, just hang with me for a minute. We want a savior. Because you don't want to, I don't want to, I'm not pointing fingers, because you don't want to and I don't want to get off work and go knock on doors for a candidate, make a bunch of phone calls. Hey, have you gone out and voted yet? Raise money, donate money, do the basics of politics. You don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I love politics. When I get off work, I want to go home. Eat dinner, hang with the fam, watch a documentary, maybe read a book, have a glass of bourbon. I have my own life too. You have your own life. You don't want to do these things. So what do we want? We want someone to do them. Can someone just handle it for us? Someone come here and handle all this. So what we do is we focus on the presidency. Because what we want is we want a savior to come in and save all of this, fix all this immediately. Can someone fix this? Trump, come fix everything. DeSantis, can you come fix everything? Trump can't fix everything. DeSantis can't fix everything. There's no savior coming, and we're not going to save this country from the top down. We want to, but we're not. We don't put in the work. I'm blaming myself too. I'm not pointing fingers at you. We don't put in the work. We don't. We want it to all just be fixed so we can go back to having this country we love. But the communist has spent decades tearing that country apart. And we are going to have to spend a long time and do a lot better when it comes to the work in order to take it back. What do I mean by that? Well, what was the big story from yesterday? Probably thinking Trump, right? And I'm not denying that was a big story, a seminal moment in America. We talked about it. But there was a critical race in Wisconsin, critical for the future of the presidency, for 2024. You sitting there with your MAGA hat on, maybe your DeSantis 2024 shirt on. I want to win, go Ron, go Trump. Well, we're probably not going to win Pennsylvania because of reasons. Therefore, we have to have Wisconsin. If you don't have Pennsylvania, you better have Wisconsin, and even then you have to win a bunch of other stuff as far as the swing states go. And we may have just lost Wisconsin yesterday. You realize that? Daniel Kelly was going up against this nutball committed communist yesterday, and Daniel Kelly got blown out in Wisconsin. It wasn't close. By 11 points, he got blown out, outspent 14 million to 2 million. So while all of the right, media, candidates, everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the country had something to say about Trump, a critical election that in large part is going to have a say in whether Trump even gets back in the White House or DeSantis gets back in the White House, got completely ignored. What were the stakes yesterday? Well, we didn't ignore it. Scott Pressler came on the show and he explained what the stakes were.
This is the most consequential election of 2023, Jesse. Why is this important? Because the liberals have already indicated that they're going to put their thumbs on the scale. And that means that Wisconsin, which currently has voter ID, we could lose voter ID going into 2024. We could lose proof of residency, which is required to register to vote in the state of Wisconsin. And I'll remind you that a conservative court here in Wisconsin deemed that unmanned drop boxes are illegal, meaning if the court flips liberal, you're going to have unmanned drop boxes on every street corner in Green Bay, Eau Claire, Milwaukee, Madison, and it's going to be an arduous uphill battle in order to win Wisconsin in the White House in 2024.
And we got blown out and outspent like you can't even imagine. While everybody was focused on Trump, talking about Trump, we got massacred, making all the Trump stuff probably irrelevant. We don't do the blocking and tackling. It is time to have a hard talk about ourselves. And I understand why, right? You understand why. Look, when we watch football, I say blocking and tackling because it's a football analogy. And especially for the fellas, although this is probably some ladies today too, when you watch a football game, who do you want to be out there? Man, I want to be the quarterback. I want to be that wide receiver. Look how fast he is. Touchdown. That's so cool. Nobody watches a football game and wants to be the 350-pound left tackle kind of lumbering along out there. Guess who oftentimes is the most important player on the field? We don't do the blocking and tackling. We want the flash. We want to run the triple wide receiver reverse halfback pass. We don't block and we don't tackle. We go to these big Trump rallies. We talk about Ron DeSantis as the new savior. We do all these things. And look, that's fine. I don't care. Fly that flag, back your guy. But we can't be bothered with the basics. We can't be bothered with the basics. Therefore, I think I'm about done hearing about the flashy stuff because the flashy stuff ain't going to get it done. How will we save this nation? We won't save it from Washington, D.C. We won't save it from the Oval Office. We will save it beginning in our own communities, your community, my community. We will start by taking back our states. We will start by doing the basics. School boards, county board of supervisors, sheriff, state house, state senate. We will begin the blocking and tackling work because we have to begin to crawl before we can ever run. They have a system in place that allows them to do these things because they put in the work. It's not because of Joe Biden. It's because they've spent decades blocking and tackling the fundamentals. We got outraced 14-2, 14 million to 2. And our leadership in this country is so pathetic and inept. The leader of the RNC actually went on television and blamed abortion.
But I will say something else. When you're losing by 10 points, there is a messaging issue, and abortion is still an issue. And we can't allow the Democrats to define Republicans and put millions of dollars up in lies and have it go unanswered, because the lies become the truth if they go unanswered. We have to put the Democrats on the defense on this issue, talk about the fact that they support gender selection abortions and due date abortions. It was an issue in 2022. The RNC raised the flag. I'm a suburban woman. I know this is an issue.
Yeah, boy. Who's in charge of that organization that's supposed to back candidates, help candidates raise money, get out the vote? That organization, what's it called? The RNC. That's it. And who is it? Hold on, let me look. Who is it that heads up that organization? Ronna McDaniel. Says it right here on my paper. Ronna McDaniel. So that person going on television opining as if she's just some bystander, instead should be going on television resigning in disgrace. When a general gets blown out like this, he comes back and hands in his sword and says, I have failed, I apologize, allow me to resign in disgrace. Instead, if we just stop talking about abortion, pathetic. Our party, the GOP, is pathetic at the highest levels. It's embarrassing. I roll my eyes now when I hear anybody talk about the presidency. We can't do the basics. And we're talking about the presidency? We're going to get blown out in 2024. It won't even be close. They could roll out a potato, which is basically what they did last time, and we could roll out George Washington himself, and we'd still get blown out because we can't do the basics. It's embarrassing. So where do we begin? What do we do? Because I do have good news coming. Well, Scott talked about that too.
We need to continue our robust voter registration operation. We are whittling down the Democratic voter registration advantage in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. A couple of years ago, during President Obama, it used to be over 1 million, and now Republicans have gotten that down to just nearly 470,000. We are whittling that number. But we need to engage in an all-of-the-above approach to voting if we're going to win the 2024 elections. That means, yes, election day, but also early voting, early in-person voting, mail-in voting, absentee voting, and where legal, ballot harvesting. And I want you guys to think about John Fetterman and Dr. Oz. Going into the first and only debate, 500,000 Pennsylvanians already voted before they heard the debate. And 4 out of 5 of those voters were registered Democrats, meaning that Democrats were sliding into Election Day with fewer people to reach out to, with more time to reach out to them, with more money to reach out to them. Meanwhile, Republicans, we were all waiting to vote on one day, so we had everybody to reach out to with less time and fewer resources. The fact of the matter is Democrats vote for weeks and Republicans vote for 12 hours. If we're going to win, we must engage in voter registration, and we must engage in an all-of-the-above approach to voting.
There we go. Now, I do need to briefly, before we get to the good news, I do need to get to the You Voted for This campaign. You people who've been watching for a while will know this. We believe in something on this show. We believe the right has been far too accommodating, far too coddling, far too nice for so long. In your daily life, whether it's your work, your family, your friends, who's the most aggressive, loud person talking about politics? It's the Democrat, if you have one in your group. Always willing to just start spouting off about it. And what do we do? Because we just want to talk about something else, right? What do? We roll our eyes or we stay silent. Those days have to stop. It is time to make Democrats look in the mirror as often as humanly possible. You remember on this show when I laughed when Chicago bounced Lori Lightfoot, and I came on here and I told everyone, what difference does it make? None of the voters are blaming themselves. They're all going to go to the polls and vote for the same piece of trash, again, just with a different name next time. Well, lo and behold, here he is. There's a new Chicago mayor out there. The new Chicago mayor's name is Brandon Johnson. Would you like to take a look at the new Chicago mayor? Things are definitely going to change. Here's Brandon.
You're not condoning looting.
I'm saying that people are acting out of desperation. We don't want a society that is acting out of desperation, but you have to pay attention to the cries that people have.
So you're not condoning looting.
There's no way to embrace that. What I'm saying is you can't condone the looting that corporations continue to do every single day when they take tax dollars from black, brown, white folks all over the city of Chicago so that they can turn a profit.
Why am I smiling? I'm happy for the people of Chicago. This is what they want. They go vote for it over and over and over and over again. They just voted for it again. So as Chicago turns into Juarez over the next coming years, why would I feel bad? I'm happy. I feel blessed to live in a country where we get the government we deserve. The citizens of Chicago voted for this repeatedly, and now they're going to get it. And so if you know somebody in Chicago who votes Democrat, I just want you to keep this in the back of your mind. The next time they bring up crime for you, oh my gosh, Jesse, you should have seen the mugging here, the shooting here. Geez, Jesse, the cops are quitting. It's really, really important that you don't do the thing we've always done. Just kind of quietly roll your eyes or go away. It's important you look that person right in the eye and say, you voted for this. It's time to start owning it. Now, the good news. We are beginning to win school board races in this nation, and that's blocking and tackling. We won a bunch of them in Wisconsin, of all places, yesterday. 4 million college graduates a year. As long as the communists are getting 4 million reinforcements every year, we are never going to win. But if we change that, and we're beginning to change that, we can see victory. It won't be fast. It won't be sexy. It won't be in 2024. But if we focus on the blocking and tackling of taking back our education system, and we are going to see a different America 50 years from now. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. We're going to talk to Chad Prather about this and some other things in a moment. Now, maybe you're sitting there saying, Jesse, I don't have 50 years. Jesse, I can't do this. Jesse, I'm exhausted. I get that you're exhausted. All you need to do is go to chalk.com. We all get tired. We all get worn down. What do you think your exhaustion level would be with a 20% increase in your testosterone with natural herbal supplements? Ladies, they have a female vitality stack for you. Men, there's a male vitality stack. You want to feel better? You want to be ready to stay in the fight, prepped up, ready to go? CHOQ.com. Promo code Jesse gets you 35% off subscriptions, all right? Chuck.com, promo code Jesse. We'll be back.
There is no case. There's no case. They kept saying there's no case. But it's far worse than that because he knew there was no case. That's why last week he delayed for a month and then immediately took that back and threw this ridiculous indictment together. Came out today, everybody said this is not really an indictment. There's nothing here. My lawyers came to me and they said there's nothing here. They're not even saying what you did. The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information for which he should be prosecuted, or at a minimum, he should resign.
Joining me now, my buddy Chad Prather of the Chad Prather Show. Chad, what did you make of all that kangaroo court stuff yesterday in Trump's speech?
Well, I can tell you what, Jesse, first of all, thank you for calling me your buddy. I'm honored in that introduction. Dude, I'll tell you what, if I thought I could go out and raise $8 to $10 million by getting indicted, I would say bring it on right now. I mean, Trump's definitely capitalizing off of this thing, and I don't feel bad for the guy for doing that. I think he should capitalize off of it every chance he can. Listen, we're in dangerous times, right? I mean, if they can do that to Trump, if they can trump up, no pun intended, these charges and turn a misdemeanor into a felony, and as Alvin Bragg says, these are serious crimes, man, they can come after all of us. We're all in trouble with this. If this stands, if this is allowed to continue, we're in trouble. But typical Trump, Trump comes back to Mar-a-Lago. Everybody's there. They're crammed into that room waiting to hear what he's got to say. He doesn't really say much about the going in for the hearing in New York, but it's a hell of a campaign speech.
Chad, setting Trump aside and all that stuff aside, one of the things I've been harping on a lot lately is we don't do the basics on the right yet. We talk about the presidency all the time and Trump and DeSantis in 2024. And in the meantime, we're getting blown out with critical Supreme Court races in Wisconsin. We don't raise the money. Yep. We don't get out the votes. We don't do the basic stuff that's not sexy, right? It's not flashy. But that's the stuff that actually matters. That's why they win these races and we lose. It frustrates me we don't focus on the basics.
Yeah, that's the thing that frustrates me, too. I've said it for a number of years now. I said we call ourselves conservatives, but if all of a sudden the government was truly made smaller and more limited tomorrow, most of us wouldn't know what to do with ourselves because we've gotten so dependent upon big government. We talk a good game, but we don't really act on it. I've got a lot of people who say that because of this, Trump now has a shoe-in when it comes to 2024. If we don't fix the election process, he's not a shoe-in. I don't care. As long as we allow them to continue to game the system, we're going to continue to lose. Another thing that I've said for a number of years is we basically have had a three-chord strand that have held this country together, and that has been the education system, the media, as well as the courts. Now, we've lost the media, we've lost the education system long ago, and it would appear that we're losing the courts as well. For the last couple of years, Jesse, we've experienced a lot of tyranny in this country, stuff that we never would have thought we would put up with, from medical tyranny, corporate tyranny, the governmental tyranny, the shutdowns, the businesses closing, and then we've seen educational tyranny, and now we are seeing a judicial tyranny in a big way. If we don't change the game on this, and I mean at the grassroots level, people don't want to hear that because people don't pay attention. They don't pay attention to primaries. They don't pay attention to who their judges are, who their city councils are. Listen, Joe Biden or Donald Trump, neither of them are coming to my house. They're not coming to my neighborhood. I got to govern me first. That is the founding principle of being a conservative. I want self-government, and if I'm going to do that, I got to take care of business. We're not doing that.
Chad, how do we begin? Where do we begin? Because the truth is, we do have jobs. We do have lives. We don't eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. They do. The commie scum does. We do not. When I'm done doing this show and you're done doing this show, we want to go hang out with the fam, have a beer, shoot guns. I don't want to go knock on doors. I don't want to go run for city council. I don't want to get involved. But we need to begin. We have to begin. What's step one? Where do we begin?
Well, you don't have to do as grand of a thing that I did. I mean, on July 2nd of 2020, I decided I was going to run for governor in Texas, and I followed the primary process all the way through March 1st of 2022. For 19 months, I ran for office. You don't have to run for governor in your state, but I think you can have, you can be a county chair. You can get involved. You can attend your school board meetings. You can speak out. You can go on record. You can visit your city council. You can get to know your mayor. And again, hey, go have that beer and shoot a little pool with the mayor. These people are in your communities, and you should get to know them. And we've gotten so polarized that we're wanting to throw water on each other because we perceive each other as the fiery enemy that we don't want to, congregate with. But my God, man, if we're going to do anything, we've got to at least be able to transfer the ideas that are in this brain to that brain, and that communication process is a big deal. Most of us talk on social media. Well, actually, we like to bark and bite and each other. But if we would just communicate a little bit, face to face, person to person, I think we'd start to make some difference. And that's not pie in the sky. Get involved. Get involved. Take a little bit of your time, figure out a way that you can actively get involved in the process that's going on around you.
Culture matters a lot, as you well know. You talk about this stuff, and entertainment matters. For years, I have watched the right. I'm sure I probably said it myself. Say things like, "No one cares what George Clooney thinks. No one cares what LeBron James." Yes, they do. Millions and millions and millions of people do care, and we sat on our hands for so long. Now we have this freak Kelsey, what's her name, Ballerini, at the Country Music Awards of all places, doing a little dance with the whole, Sodom and Gomorrah stuff. Even country music fell. The NHL fell. NASCAR fell. They came after these bastions of the right on purpose, didn't they, Chad?
They did. I mean, Bud Light, in everything across the board. I mean, when NASCAR went woke, I knew we were doomed. And I'm not necessarily a fan of NASCAR, but I mean, that is kind of the thing that you perceive to be that good old boy, blue collar backbone of America, hardworking person. And now it's being thrust into, the rainbow culture and every other thing that you can imagine of wokeism. You take the Kelsey Ballerini thing. Those were some thick-legged, big-breasted men that she had dancing around out there with her. And CMT, they actually doubled down. They continued to tweet about that performance, saying what a fantastic job that was. It was the most amazing performance of the night. It doesn't surprise me. CMT is owned by MTV, so we should learn to expect things like this. But, country music represents a place called Nashville, Tennessee, where just Monday a week ago, a transsexual activist walked into a school and murdered 6 Christians, 3 of which were children, in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is the slap in the face that country music pays back to its home city. And again, it's all in the name of activism, pushing back against these bills that are happening in Tennessee that are doing things to protect children from things like genital mutilation and hormone therapies. They're coming for you, man. Listen, I said 30 years ago, I've continued to reiterate it all these years. They don't want equality. They've never wanted equality. They want control. And those that are out there pushing for it, they will stop at nothing, and that includes murder, in order to get it.
Chad, appreciate you, brother. Come back soon.
Love you, pal.
He's the best. All right, we got cultural decline. Obviously, you know about that, but let's get some historical perspective from my buddy Darryl Cooper. You know I love history. He's got a little story to tell. Before we get to Darryl, let's make sure we are making the necessary preparations. Nothing radical, necessary preparations, just in case these things go really bad. They might go really, really bad. I don't know. My Patriot Supply is there with emergency 3-month food kits, just in case. I'm not telling you to go build a bunker in your backyard, although that would be really awesome if you did. I've always wanted a bunker. But I am saying, can everyone in your home eat for 3 months with the food that is in your house right now? Be honest with yourself. Go to mypatriotsupply.com. They're $200 off per kit right now. Every person in your home needs an emergency 3-month food kit. Every single one. mypatriotsupply.com will get them to you. They ship them free, they ship them fast, and most importantly, they ship them anonymously. Do keep this quiet when you get it, all right? Don't even tell me, I don't want to know. mypatriotsupply.com. Don't put pictures of it on social media. Just trust me on that. mypatriotsupply.com. We'll be back.
It says you're an EMT. Yes. Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male is having a medical emergency. And they say to you, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
Look. No, but that's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
That's fantastic. But man, what a place we are in as a country. Joining me now, Darryl Cooper. He has an outstanding podcast. People ask me all the time, what podcasts do you listen to? Oh, Darryl Cooper's Martyr Made podcast. It's just freaking dynamite. Darryl, I know that you, like me, kind of lament that we're here as a culture. And I really struggle to figure out how it got this way. It feels like so fast. I mean, I'm not old. I'm 41. It wasn't like this when I was a child. At least I don't think so. If it was, I didn't know it. And we just got insane like overnight, brother.
Yeah, well, it's worth keeping in mind that as recently as 2008, both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were taking a stand against gay marriage in their debates. So that's how rapidly things have changed. One thing I really think we should kind of keep in mind, and it's hard to do sometimes in a polarized environment, and especially when a lot of these folks, like the person you just showed Matt talking to, can get a little wild in their behavior and their demands, is that we should take pity on that person. You know, that person that Matt is talking to there has been confused by one of the most wide-ranging propaganda campaigns that any generation has ever been subjected to, you know? And so as far as how we got to this point, I mean, we could approach this in terms of politics. You know, what were the political mistakes that allowed the commanding heights of our society to be seized by people who even the most radical street activist in 1968 would have considered to be obvious lunatics? But I think we should look a little bit deeper. You know, a recent Pew study found that over half, 56% of all white women who self-identify as liberal, have been told at least once by a doctor that they had a mental health condition requiring intervention. If you look at suicide rates, look at depression, substance abuse, hospital admissions of teenagers for self-harm, cutting, and things like that. Across the board, all of these things have skyrocketed since the year 2000, and they have gone parabolic since about 2008 when, you know, who knows, there's maybe a lot of things that started happening then, but, you know, when smartphones and social media kind of became a ubiquitous part of a young person's life, of a child's life. Last year, the CDC released the results of its annual mental health survey. And this is a huge study, you know, 600,000 subjects, something like that, involved. And they found that, and just think about this. There are a lot of numbers out there, but just think about this one if you come away with anything. They found that 26% of all people, male and female, across all races, of people aged 16 to 24 years old, 26% had answered yes to the question, have you seriously considered committing suicide in the last 30 days? Okay. And that's how it was phrased. And so we have a profound mental health crisis in this country. If this were any kind of a physical health issue, we would recognize it as a terrible epidemic in every sense of the word, you know, and the problems skew toward the younger generation. So there's this vast pool of young people who feel alone and lost and confused, and again, who are having to grow up under a propaganda assault that is throwing the most basic aspects of life into chaos. You know, we have a Supreme Court nominee telling the United States Senate that they don't know what a woman is. You know, and so people like that woman in that video, these people are their prey. You know, we really have this is a predatory thing that's happening, and people like in that video that Matt was talking to really are prey, and we should think about it that way, I think.
No, I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree. All right, switching gears just a little bit here. Friend of mine, I think you know him too, Aaron McIntyre, said a long time ago that we are in the looting the treasury phase of the republic. And that has hit me home, that has hit me so hard, because when you look at all the things these do, just $1 trillion bill after $1 trillion bill, with the value of the dollar collapsing, the world coalescing against us, it seems like that's really what it is, Darryl, that all our leaders now, they're all just looking at the treasury and dipping their hands in for one final scoop. Is there some historical precedent? I'm sure there's tons of it for what's happening right now in this country.
Oh, yeah. You know, it actually reminds me of something I read in a travel memoir by some rich guy. I can't remember. Maybe it was Jim Rogers' travel memoir, where he went all around the world in a big souped-up off-road Mercedes that he had made, and he went all, you know, not just to national capitals, but all over the place. And he toured the former Soviet Union. And one of the most striking passages, he was talking about how he would go through places like in Crimea, down on the Black Sea coast, and there'd be these hotels that were just palaces. I mean, literal palaces of the czars, right? Vacation homes for the czars back in the day. Just unbelievable hotels, royal level hotels. And he would stay in them, and he said that one of the things that struck him is that when he got in there, all of the doorknobs, all of the faucets and other fittings, all the silverware, anything in there that was valuable and nice and could be stripped out and sold off had been. And it was all, you had this grand hotel, this palace with just the cheapest knockoff doorknobs and water faucets and silverware and everything else. And that all happened in the 1990s. That didn't happen under communism, okay? And it was because the people in Russia at the time were looking around. I mean, life expectancy had collapsed by 15, 16 years over the course of half a decade. Things were falling apart. Nobody knew what anything was going to look like 10 years from now. I mean, forget about even longer than that when your kids and grandkids are going to be grown up. Forget about that. Nobody had any idea. And when that's how it is, when you have no attachment to your history, which they didn't at the time, you know, coming out of the Soviet Union, that wasn't something they really wanted to think about. And you don't have any kind of future that you can really get yourself to look forward to, then the present is all that matters. And you can empty your bank account and max out your credit cards and live for the moment. And that's kind of become our ethos here in the United States.
Man, that hits. Darryl, you're the best, brother. Come back soon.
Thanks, Matt. Later.
All right, we're not done. Look, it's heavy. I got something else for you. Do you remember, there's a guy on TV, I can't remember who it is. His name starts with a J, but he was telling you a few weeks ago about what's going to happen with the precious metals market as the dollar value goes down and the banks close and interest rates jack up and China starts to crowd the dollar out on the... Do you remember that guy on television? What was his name? Oh, yeah, that was me. Headline, gold up 2.10%, silver up 4.3% in an almost instant rise. Why does that happen? Well, as everything seems unstable, people seek out stability. I know the owner of a bank. He texted me this weekend. The owner of a bank texted me and said, hey, I want to buy some gold. He owns a bank. Do you think he might know something we don't know? Call Oxford Gold Group, please, for some security. 833-900-3000. 995 gold. You can get it in your IRA, in your 401k. You can get physical gold and silver mailed to your home. Oxford takes care of all of it. 833-995 gold, all right? We'll be back. All right, it's time to lighten the mood. And as everyone who watches the show knows, I'm a huge fan of women's basketball. Just can't get enough watching those ladies hoop it up, the layups and everything else. It's very, very exciting. And we've got some funnies courtesy of Jill Biden here in just a second. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about health, basic health. We don't want to go to the doctor's office anymore. Understandably so. You see what's happening with your medical institutions. And there are a bunch of things we should be doing now. Some of them we're doing, some of them we're not doing, but we should be drinking more water, working out more, eating better. And look, I'm not some shining example of fitness. I'm not telling you that, but I am starting to do these things more, trying to avoid the doctor's office. That's part of the reason I have Eden Pure thunderstorms all over my house. Now, why would I have an air purifier? What would that do? Eden Pure Thunderstorm kills the viruses and mold in my air. My family, we've had these for, I think, a couple years now. We've never had such a clean bill of health. It's the air you breathe in. Do you think you should care for that at all? They have 3-packs for sale of these things. Go try them. EdenPureDeals.com. $200 off right now, a 3-pack with the code Jesse. EdenPureDeals.com, code Jesse. All right? All right. Well, some team won the NCAA Women's Championship. I'm kidding. It was LSU. They won the NCAA Women's Championship, and the President of the United States of America, Jill Biden, got up and she decided she wanted to invite the losers along too.
Congratulations to both teams. So I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So, you know, we'll have LSU come. But you know what? I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too, because they played such a good game. So, right? So winners and losers, that's sportsmanship. That's good sportsmanship.
What a chick thing to say. No one cares who won, let alone the team who lost. Gosh, these people. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.